G'day everyone and welcome to this video today. My name's Tim and I do a lot of the training videos here at vMix, and something that we get requested a lot is a live demo video. So we get emails every single day and we don't really have the time or capacity to do thousands of live training videos on vMix every single day. So this is kind of going to be a not live demo of vMix. And so it might be a little bit longer. We're going to kind of go over all of the commonly asked questions and show you some basic production scenarios across this video. Now I'm going to try and do it as quickly as possible with one take, but I guarantee you would probably be 100 and 200,000 maybe takes before we get it done. So anyway, stick with me and we'll go through as much as we can in this live demo. Now, if you do have any questions about specific functions or features in vMix, check out the hundreds of other videos on our YouTube channel. Or you can send us an email if you have a specific question via our website. If you do email us asking for a live demo, you'll probably just get a link back to this video. So do your best not to create that infinite loop. And if I have sent you an email link to this video, hi, hope you enjoy this video. So firstly, if you didn't know, vMix is software for your Windows computer that allows you to create live video productions and live streams. You can use it to add multiple cameras, video guests, social media content, instant replays, NDI sources, titles, data-driven graphics, and a whole lot more. Now, we've seen vMix used in trillion-dollar companies, network TV, your favorite sporting events, esports, tournaments, red carpets, but it's also accessible enough to use for an everyday personal talk show live stream, game streams, product launches, or maybe even internal town hall meetings. And of course, we use it for our monthly live show here at vMix. Now, vMix is a really versatile solution for a lot of people. However, we don't mind if you use all of vMix's features or maybe just one or two. Although you can create world-class multi-camera content that encompasses all of the features that vMix has to offer, you can also use it for something really specific. So maybe you're watching this video and you're the one person in the company that's been tasked to work out how you stream your live video. You've got a video source, you just need to work out how to stream it. So you can use vMix just to encode that video and then stream it out to wherever you like. Now maybe you need a way to get in additional NDI sources into your production. Perhaps you want to use vMix's industry-leading 8-camera instant replay, which we've seen used all over the world in large sports and esports tournaments. So as you can see, you can use different elements of vMix in your production, or you could use vMix for your entire show. It's entirely up to you. So I'd recommend taking a look at our feature list to see if it might work in your workflow. Now, as vMix is for the PC, you can build or purchase the computer that's tailored to your production needs. You don't need to spend any more based on what you want to do in your production. So we spend a lot of time and money here at vMix to make sure that it can be run effectively on off-the-shelf computers. Build your own computer, buy them from a computer shop, or purchase a laptop. Now, if you're tasked with finding out what computer you need to run vMix on, then you can check out our website and have a look at the vMix reference systems page, or go to vmixpc.com, and that's going to redirect you there. There you'll find specific computer builds for specific production requirements like HD video productions, instant replay, and 4K for examples. We also have information regarding the latest laptops for running vMix. Now, if you are a Mac user, unfortunately there's no native support, so you don't need to watch the rest of this video. Sorry about that, I really should have mentioned that at the start. You can boot camp and run Windows, but it's not something that we recommend. There are reasons, but this isn't the video for that. I don't quite have the time. All right, so if you're from the accounting department, we do offer a single outright purchase for all of our vMix editions. If you prefer subscriptions, we offer a monthly subscription option called vMix Max, which is equivalent to our highest edition. Now you can check out our website for all of the pricing. Now, if somebody has asked you to work out what this vMix thing is and you'd like to try it out, I'd recommend downloading our free 60-day trial at vmix.com. Just click on the download link, and after downloading and installing vMix, you can enter your email address to register a 60-day trial of vMix Pro. So there's no watermarks, just the full version of vMix for 60 days. Now, if you want to do that now so that you can follow along with this tutorial or live demo, I'll wait for you, or probably just hit pause on the video. It's probably going to be the easiest way to go. All right, so we'll now go through a couple of scenarios for setting up a live video production with vMix. So firstly, I'm going to show you how to create a simple production with some cameras, a title, some images, and some video files, which is typically the building blocks of a live video production. All right, so if you've got vMix installed, go ahead and open it up to follow along, or you can check out my desktop here as I talk through things. So when opening vMix the very first time, you'll see a little menu and you'll be able to create a new production. Now this production preset sets the resolution and frame rate for your production. What you'll want to do is think about what plans you have for this production and what equipment you have. Is all of your equipment full HD, 720, 4K? Is it 25 frames a second, 30, 60 frames? So you'll need to think about what equipment you have and then match your production preset to that. You don't want to have mix matching frame rates. So you can change this in your production after the fact, and I'll show you how to do that a little bit later on. Okay, so once you've created your production, it's going to look something a little like this. Obviously not exactly like this, as I do have some things already in my production because I am recording this tutorial as a live demo because we're totally live. All right, so up the top left-hand corner, you'll see that preset section. So you have your preset, then you can create a new preset, you can open a preset, and you can save it. So what you'll want to do is, just like a normal document that you're creating, you'll want to save it incrementally, and that's going to save where all your presets and all your settings are. So make sure that you do that as you create your production. So as you can see at the top here, my production is called livedemo.vmix, and it's a vMix preset file. So I just click save up the top here. As I'm going along, I can give it different names if I make slight changes. But when I open up vMix again, I can then open up this exact preset, which is handy if you're doing the same production over and over. Now there is a last button as well, which will kind of go back 30 seconds. It's a 30-second save of the production. Don't rely on this, but you can use it if you need to. And this button up here will revert back if you remove something from the production here. So if I add an input and then I take it away, I can go back one like so. All right, so I already have my production set up. I've already created a new one. I can also see what my production is set to in the bottom left-hand corner. Down here, you'll see it says 1080p 2997. So all of my production assets, my camera, my video files are going to be 1080 2997. If I wanted to change this, I can go up to the settings up the top here and make changes here to the master frame rate and the output size if I want to. All right, so in front of you is the vMix interface. Welcome everybody to this demonstration of the vMix interface. So every element you add to your production is called an input. Now those inputs will appear down here in the input section. So on the left-hand side, you have your inputs, and on the right-hand side here, you have your audio mixer. So anything that has audio will appear in this section here, and it will have a designated audio input here. So for example, my camera here has embedded audio coming through this shotgun microphone into the camera. And so I have the option to edit the audio on the right-hand side here. I can go into the settings and make changes to the audio for that. So in the top part of the screen, you'll see a preview window and a program output window. So as you can see here, this is for previewing things, and this is the program output. So whatever's in the right-hand screen is going to be what is streamed and recorded by default. So this is what your production is going to look like. Now, traditionally, how productions work is you select something and you put it into the preview window to make sure it's ready to go out to the world, and then you move it to the program output, you transition it over. So I have another camera up here. I have a PTZ camera. So what you can do is you click on it to move it to the preview window, like so. Make sure it's the right shot, and then you can transition that over to the program output window, which will then be seen on your stream or on your recording. So what I'm going to do is use one of the transition buttons in the middle here, and that's going to move it from my preview to my program, like so. And then I can transition that back. So we have transition buttons right here underneath, in the middle here that you can select. You can also make changes to the default and the amount of time it takes to do the transitions if you want to. So those are in the center here. Now you can also do a quick play or a cut directly to that particular camera by using the quick play or cut option on each input. So I can go cut, that's going to automatically move that over without doing the preview to program transition. So that's how you can move something into the preview and then move it to the program output. Something that we do get asked a lot, and I should probably clear this up, Why these colors? So orange and green for preview and program output. That's what we've decided to do. That's the vMix way of doing it. If you do want to change these to traditional broadcast colors like green and then red for your program out, go up to the settings, click on it, and then from here you can set the preview color and the program output color from here. Now you will notice that the orange and the green represent what's in the preview. So you can see this here. The program output here is in green and blue is currently not in use. Now, a lot of the times nowadays, people don't preview things, so you can just cut directly to any of your inputs down here by clicking the little cut option, and you can also set up shortcuts. So vMix supports hundreds and hundreds of shortcuts. Anything you want to do in vMix, you can pretty much program to your keyboard and mouse, or you can program it to something like an X keys, a Stream Deck, or a MIDI controller down here. So say I wanted to cut to a camera, I can just set up a row for cameras and just cut directly to them. So that's an option as well. And I'll show you a little bit more about shortcuts just a little bit later on. Okay, so anything that we add into vMix gets added to the input section down here. And in order to do that, we need to use the Add Input menu in the bottom left-hand corner. So this is going to be the most commonly used menu that you have here in vMix. So I'd recommend spending some time, take a look at all the different inputs that you can add. Think, well, what do I want to add to my production? Do I want to add cameras, PowerPoint? Do I want to add photos and images and audio inputs? So think about what you're going to add to your production and see if vMix supports it. So what I'm going to do right now is add a camera. So I'm going to go to the camera section right here, and then I'm going to select a camera from the drop-down menu. So I'm just going to move this over here like so. All right, so I'm going to select an option from this drop-down menu. Now from this drop-down menu, you'll see any capture devices that are available on your computer. Now in order to get the uncompressed video from your camera into the computer, you need a capture device. So I currently have a Blackmagic Design Decklink 8K Pro in this PC that is right here. And then I have my SDI cameras plugged into that. Now you can also use many other different PCI Express cards like this one here, or perhaps USB or Thunderbolt. And we have a full list of supported capture devices on our website that we spent a lot of time and money testing. So what I'm going to do now is select the camera that I have attached to the second port here. As you can see, I've got SDI. I want to use the same resolution that I have for my production, and that's what the camera is set to. So 1920 by 1080. I need to set the frame rate here, which is going to be 2997. And then I've got my video format is default. You typically won't need to change this. I don't have audio enabled, and so I don't need to worry about the audio input. Some devices have different audio available to them. So I'm going to click OK down the bottom. Okay, so we'll wait for that to come in. And as you can see, I now have my other camera. I can move it into the preview and then transition that out. So as you can see, I now have a third camera in my production, and it's sitting just behind me. So if you wanted to add something like a webcam, a USB camera, you would do the same method as that. You go to the Add Input menu, then you go to Camera, and you'll see it from the drop-down menu as well. So now I'm going to show you how you can add a video file. So we go up here to Video. We just browse for the video file, and I can click on this Sydney video here, click Open, and then click OK. So now I have a video file in my production. I can move it into the preview, and then I can transition that into the program output like so. And then I can transition that back. So now I've got the video file here. I'll show you a couple of settings that are kind of specific to different inputs that will become handy if you end up using vMix. So each input has its own settings in the bottom right-hand corner called Input Settings. So I'm just going to click on this here, and that's going to bring up the settings for the input. So I can change the name of it. So I can get rid of this MP4, and I can just call this Sydney Video. And there are a couple of other options here, like I can sharpen and mirror it. For videos, there's a lot of settings here, like automatically play with transition, automatically restart, and automatically pause. So I'm going to automatically restart this. So depending on what video you've got and how you use your video assets, maybe you want it to pause when you transition back because you're talking about it, and then you want to transition it back to that specific point. You wouldn't restart it. However, if I've got a video that I always want to start from the beginning, I could click that to automatically restart. Now above that is an important audio function in vMix called automatically mix audio. Now when this is ticked, it means that we have the audio from this file or input played when it's in the program output only. So I'll show you what I mean as a quick example. So when I transition this from the preview to the program output, you'll see the audio light turn on. As you can see, the audio is now on. Now this video file doesn't actually have any audio, but it's just showing you how that function works. And when I transition that back, the audio turns off. Now, if I wanted the audio to be manually controlled by myself, so if I turn the audio on here, go into the input settings and switch this off, when I use it as a part of my production, I'm the one that controls the audio. So it's currently on, and no matter what I do with it, that audio will always stay on. So this is very handy for things like microphones, cameras. You want to make sure that your audio is on all the time and you manually control it by turning it on and turning it off from here, or setting up a shortcut or using the audio mixer. So I'm going to go in here and just switch that back on again, because that's how I would typically use my video files. I would leave that automatically mix audio on, so it only works when the video is in the output like so. So switch this back again. All right, so hopefully that wasn't too confusing. It's something that you'll need to just play around with and kind of get the feel for it. There are a couple of other things worth noting with the video playback in vMix. Like I can loop a video if I want to by clicking the little loop option underneath it in the input here. I can play and pause that video file by clicking on the play button here, and those changes are reflected in the timeline, so I can play and pause it from both locations. I could also create a shortcut as well to easily play my video files. I can also restart it from this section here. And if I wanted to only use a clip within this video file, I can create a mark in and mark out point for that, so it's only going to play that section. So if I pause it here, I just right click on the timeline to create a mark in point, and you'll see a little green icon underneath it. And I can play that through like so, and then pause it again. And then I can right click here and then just create a mark out point. So you see a red point now. So if I play this video out, it's only going to play between the green and the red markers. Now to reset that, you can reset in, out, or you can reset both. And those both now appear to have the in and out point from the start to the finish. All right, so another thing quickly I'll show you is the ability to view an input really quickly at full resolution just by clicking the little screen underneath it to make any changes or to check anything like so, and I can click on it again to remove it. Now, with my vMix here, these bars here aren't on by default, so you can go ahead and you can change this as well by going up to this section here and creating your own options for your safe zones. So this is an 80-90% safe zone for titles and actions, but it's up to you if you want to turn this on, just so you know where to put your titles and keep all of your main actions and that sort of stuff. It's a good idea to have this to kind of create the best sort of layout and perspective for people that are watching your production. Okay, so let's now go ahead and add a picture. So I go to add input down here, and I'll need to select image. Now there is a photos option, and that is for like a photo gallery. So you can add multiple images and you can cycle through it. So I'm going to select image here, and I'm going to click browse, and then I'm going to add this image here, click OK, and then open it up like so. And now I have an image in my production like so. An easy way to add certain elements into vMix is by just dragging and dropping them from a folder. So for things like audio files, video files, and pictures, you can go ahead and select some. So for example, I've got some audio files here. I've got a background image like here. I've got another one here. I can just select all of those and just drag them directly into vMix like so. And that's going to populate all of my content that I've dragged in. So I now have a lot of different images and audio files. Now, if you do need some more space here, you can go ahead and you can turn off the audio mixer. You can turn it back on by pressing this button. You can resize it like so. You can move the audio mixer to a different screen if you wanted by unpinning it. And then to bring it back, you just minimize it again. It will bring it back here. And then you can also right click on an input like so, and that will just minimize them as well. You can also use the color tabs here and drag different elements into different tabs, so they only appear on that particular tab. like so. So you can kind of label out all of your different things to kind of narrow down all of your inputs. They'll always appear in this first one, but you can drop them into different labeled areas across the top here. And if you right click on it, you can label them if you like. Now, if you are looking to create even more space in your interface, you can go ahead and grab this horizontal line here and just drag it up like so. So now you've got more space available down in your input area. Now, this will depend on the resolution of your monitor. So higher resolution screens will give you the opportunity to be able to create more space like this. You can also make changes to the size of your input boxes down here, for example. So if I go into the settings up here, I can then change the input size box down here from this drop-down menu. And there are a couple of different options here for setting up your displays and that sort of thing that you might want to have a look at. Now, one thing I'll mention with the images is that a lot of the times it's best to kind of create the image as the size of your production. So for example here, if I added this particular image into my production, it's going to be full size like so. Then I'll have to position it on a layer or on an overlay. Whereas if I create an image that's the full size, 1920 by 1080, it's easier for me to place that when I add it as a layer in my production. So that's just something to keep in mind. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and add a title. So I go to add input in the bottom left-hand corner, and we go to the title section. Now you can see that we have a lot of different animated title templates that are available to be used in vMix. Now all of these in here are animated and they use the GT title engine that we've created for vMix. So a lot of titling or graphics programs take up a lot of CPU to run. So typically you'll need to run that on a separate computer and then feed that into your video production. In vMix, we've created our own GT titling engine, which will render all of your graphics in real time on the GPU, so it doesn't hog up your CPU, and you can run the titles at the same time as your production on the same computer. Now you can obviously still use these other titling programs on a separate computer and bring them in via, say, NDI or something like that, or you could also render out your titles in After Effects and then overlay those as video files in vMix. So all of these are animated, and so you can select them and use them in your production. So I'm just going to go ahead and let's just grab, let's say this one here, and then I'm going to click OK down the bottom. So when you first create them, you've got the ability to use any of the fields here. So we have text and we also have a logo. If they have a logo or if they have multiple text fields, we can edit them here. We can edit the text like so, the left text, and then we can add a logo by browsing. Let's just use this guy here. And so that's how you can add it, different content to it. You can then change the font color and that sort of thing using this information here. You can completely customize your own GT titles by using the GT title designer. And that's available down here in the hamburger menu in vMix. So you can open up the GT title designer, build them from scratch, create your own awesome animation in vMix, or just create static titles through that program. And there's plenty of videos if you'd like to check those out also. Now in vMix, you can also fill out title content with dynamic data. So if I click the data sources option up here, I can then select a data source I've set up in vMix. So what I can do is click manage here, and then I can create different data sources from like Excel spreadsheets, text files, RSS, Google Sheets. So I could have a lot of different content in that Google Sheet that somebody's might even be using completely away from me. I can update it and that will automatically update your titling in vMix. So that's really good for things like scoreboard integration and different things like that. Now you can also access data sources from the hamburger menu as well. So I'm just going to cancel this and I'm going to close this down here as well. Okay, so if you ever want to edit that particular title, you can right click on it and then you can go into the title editor in order to add different content. Now you can also save different presets. So I could click this down here and then change that to Tom. And I can add that as a preset. So I could switch between heaps and heaps of different options down here without having to add a lot of different titles. I can just add a lot of different presets in here and kind of switch between them as I need them. And you can also import, export these via CSV as well. All right, so I'm going to close this down now. So now I have my title in my production. I need a way in order to display it. So I need to be able to put it in that lower third section to display the content and then to go away after a few seconds. So I can do this using the overlay channel system in vMix. Now this is a really powerful way to display any of your inputs in any part of your screen temporarily. So if you take a look at vMix here, you'll see that each input has the numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4 below it. And those are the 4 overlay channels that you can customize in order to put that input into the overlay channel. So say I create an overlay channel for my top right-hand corner, I can then put any of my inputs right here. So first of all, I'm going to show you how you can use this title here. So I've already created overlay channel 1, and so I'm going to click on the little 1 below the title, like so. As you can see, it has appeared overlaid onto my program output, and when I press it again, it's going to disappear. So that's how you can use overlay channel 1. Now I've set up overlay channel 2 to be a picture-in-picture up here or over the other side. So if I click on the number 2 below this one here, as you can see, it's now a picture-in-picture over there, and then it disappears. I've set that up to turn off after a certain period of time. All right, so in order to set up these customized channels, we just need to go to the overlay section down here. Now you see that I've got 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then I also have stinger transitions as well that I can customize. So if I select number 1 here, you'll see that it's a full screen. I want my lower third to be full screen because all of our titles are built to the full resolution. So that's full screen, and you use the cut effect here because you want to include all of the animations available in the title. So we use cut, which is instant, and that disregards the effect duration here, which is how long the transition takes place. So that's what you do typically for a lower third. For the second one here, you'll notice I have a picture-in-picture, and I'll set up a third one here just to show you how to do it. So in order to create a picture-in-picture, use the drop-down menu here. For the effect, you can choose to fade it or swipe it, that type of thing, or slide it, sorry. I'm just going to make the effect duration 1000, which is 1 second. So it's going to take 1 second to fade. And then for the duration here, I can choose how long it stays on the screen for. So I'm just going to make this 4 seconds. If I wanted to manually turn it on and off, I would leave that as 0, but I'm just going to make it 4 seconds here. And now we need to work out where we want the position to happen. So I can use the options here. I can zoom this in and I can move it around like so. Or you can just left click on it and move it to the corner. And in order to zoom in and zoom out, hold down your shift key and then drag the left mouse in and out like so. So hold down shift, left mouse in and out like so to move it to the right position. You can also add a border to it if you wanted to, like so. And then we can click OK down the bottom. It's probably going to be, hopefully that's in the right spot. Yep, looks about right. And so now I can put anything into overlay channel 3. So this one here, so that's going to last for 4 seconds and then it's going to fade away. So that's a really easy way that you can create temporary channels of overlays in your production. So I can put this one here, that's my lower third here. I can go ahead and I can show this video here. I can put this one on this side here. A lot of different ways to add this temporary content into the production. All right, so what we can do now is we can actually create permanent scenes or mix effects with a couple of the inputs put together. So these are temporary channels that overlay, but a lot of software nowadays allows you to create scenes so you can add multiple layers to your inputs and then use it that way, or traditionally they were called mix effects. So we can do that in vMix really simply. You can actually make any of your inputs scenes. So you can add layers onto different layers and duplicate them and do all sorts of crazy stuff. So just for a really quick example, if I wanted to add this bug into the this shot here to have it permanently on my camera, what I would do is go into the input settings in the bottom right-hand corner down here, and then I would go to the layers section. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 layers that I can add to this one here. So I'm just going to randomly select one. I probably should just do the first one. And then what we'll do is we'll select this one up here. Where we go? We'll just call this vMix bug. So that's the full one that we had before. Now I can select it and drag it around. And then I can hold down shift and left click drag that in like so. Or I can edit it like this from this screen and do it manually if I wanted to. Or I can just put this in the top right-hand corner like so. So now I have my vMix live bug here. And as you can see, it's permanently on this particular shot now. So it's not a temporary overlay. This is here permanently on one of my layers. So I'm just gonna go back in here, go back to the layers, and I'm going to make this none, or I could tick this box here to turn off that particular layer. And we do have plenty of shortcuts that you can press in order to switch between things, turn them on, turn them off, and that sort of thing. Need a drink now. It's a lot of talking. So the beauty of vMix is that you can still use all of your content independently. So I can actually just create a blank input. So if I go to add input here, go to color, and just create a blank color input, click OK. I can then build layers on top of that. So I can go here, and for the first layer, I could select my camera. And then for the other layer, I could select the bug here, and I could hold down Shift and drag that in, put that there. And so now I have a layered scene with my camera and my bug up here, but I also just have my regular camera. So you can use all of the stuff independently. So you could build all of this crazy stuff, but if you want it completely blank, then you can have it as well. So I can transition between these two, and then I can still use this particular input as a part of another layer somewhere else, or I could use it as a, let's say I've got this here. I could use this as my picture-in-picture, like so. So it doesn't have the bug on it anymore because I'm just using the camera input and not the layered input. So that's something to keep in mind with vMix, that you can use all of these inputs and layers independently. There are a couple of cool funky things that you can do as well. So for example, on this one here, let's remove this one. Let's just add the overhead camera like so. So that's now part of the production. And I can use the merge effect the merge transition effect in order to bring that out of the production. So let's just cut to this one directly. And I'm gonna move this one here. And I can use the merge effect to bring this out full screen. So we have the merge transition here, and just watch that. So there we go. And we can set the time for this as well if we want to, make this a little bit longer. And so we can use that to pull out something full screen as part of one of the layers. Now I can actually also do something cool by merge transitioning between multiple layered inputs as well, which creates a cool effect. And I can also duplicate inputs by right-clicking on the little gear icon down here and clicking Create Virtual Input. So I can use that to duplicate an input in vMix. So now I have this one here. If I go into the settings, what I can do is let's just move this one down, for example, put that here. So if I merge transition between these two, this is what happens. You can actually slide it down. So if you have multiple different layers with multiple different inputs like that, you can have them shift around and do all sorts of cool and crazy stuff. But that's probably a little bit advanced for now. Now, one thing that I should have showed you is the easiest way to create a blank input is just by clicking the little arrow next to the add input, and that'll bring up the quick menu. Click this, and then I can just click blank up the top like so, and it's going to add the blank input a lot quicker than by going into the menu. vMix supports a lot of different audio types when it comes to audio input devices. So USB audio interfaces. It supports ASIO audio. You could use a sound card if you wanted to as well. It supports a lot of different audio files. So for example, we added those audio files before. So for example, this one here. Now with audio files, if you want them to play over the top, it's best to go into the settings again and turning off the automatically mix audio, restart if you want to start from the beginning. So automatically mix audio is off now, so I control when it happens. And so I've turned the audio on by clicking the audio underneath it. And now when I play the file,
I don't know how many more sleeps there are to Christmas.
Martin say something about Christmas. So
I don't know how many more sleeps there are to Christmas.
That's how you can play an audio file through vMix. And again, if you wanted to add an audio input, you go to the audio input section, and then you can add different audio that's available to you in your production. All right, so if you're still with me, congratulations. Maybe let me know in the comments section if you've got this far what your favorite biscuit is. I'm currently on an original Tim Tam sort of spree with my biscuits. I'm really enjoying the Tim Tam, getting back to my roots. So another question that we get is, how do I add a remote guest to my production? You might be thinking, yeah, I'd love to add a remote interview. Well, it's actually really simple in vMix, and it only takes a matter of seconds. Now, you can go the other route of kind of screen capturing your WebEx or your Zoom or your whatever else you're using and trying to bring that into vMix on a separate computer and then managing audio and that sort of thing, but quite difficult. So we just inbuilt it into vMix so that you don't have to worry about any of that. So what you need to do is you just go ahead and go to Add Input, And then down the bottom corner, you'll see video call. So I can click on that. So on this page here, you'll see all of the different options that you can use to set up a video call to someone. So all you need to do is give them the password, and then they're able to use that password at vmixcall.com. They enter their name, add it into a web browser, and then they can use their webcam and microphone to connect to your live video production. You can also just copy this link and send it to them if you like. Now you can also choose what feed you send back to them, so what particular video you have. Now typically you're going to send the program output to them, so what's happening on the production, it's really good to know whether they're on the screen or not and that sort of thing. So that's good to send them output 1. If you've got a higher version of vMix, you could create a separate output and that sort of thing if you wanted to. Now the video bandwidth is what you send back to them. By default, the caller who's connecting to your production will use an adaptive rate. So if they've got really good internet, they'll be able to send you 720 HD like video. If they've got a bad internet connection, it's going to be adaptive and lower. So you want to make sure that they've got as much bandwidth as possible. But you can choose what you send back to them. So if you don't have much bandwidth yourself, you could go ahead and lower this down to something like 720 as opposed to sending them 1080 4 megabits. So I'm just going to select 720 now, and I can choose what audio source to send them. Now, typically you want to use the master audio so they hear all of the production stuff, but you can create a different bus here and set up a different audio mix for them if you wanted to. Now, if you do want to know a little bit more about audio routing and that sort of thing, check out our videos on that. All right, so we've got most of this set up. Now, underneath that, it's very important to select only use direct peer-to-peer connections, and you can click on this button here for more information about that. Basically, if you can connect peer-to-peer, you're going to have the highest quality, lowest latency video. Now, if you are having trouble with this, it's always best to troubleshoot this and try and push this as much as possible. If you don't have this selected, or if you can't connect peer-to-peer, it's going to be higher latency and lower quality because it's going to have to go through one of our turn servers. So this is built to go peer-to-peer. So do your best to send that peer-to-peer. That is very, very important. Okay, so once you've got all of that, all you need to do is send this to your caller. So I'm just going to copy this, and I'm going to send this. Actually, I'm going to take a photo of it and send it to them on Slack, and they're going to connect to this call. So once you've set it up here, just go ahead and click OK. Now, while we're waiting on my fellow employee to join this call, I'm just going to remind you it's a really good idea to tell your guests to use a laptop or a computer as opposed to using a phone or a tablet. Now, the phone or tablet don't have the same sort of processing that a laptop can, so the quality tends to not be as good. And usually they're going to hold it like this and walk around, which is terrible for a video guest in a live production, and it just doesn't look professional. So it's always good to use a PC or a laptop if they can. Now, another very important thing is to use headphones. Get them to use a headphone so there's no audio spill back into their microphone. Usually you're really close to your laptop when you're doing it, so it's a really good idea to just use headphones. From your end, you may be able to get away because maybe your monitor is a little bit further away with the audio spill, but you may just want to wear headphones as well. I've just got a single ear in here to be able to hear them as well. So yes, we're still waiting for this call to connect. So all you need to do is have a browser, go to vmixcall.com, and then they can use their webcam and their microphone. If you're having any troubleshooting issues, you can check out our knowledge base or our videos on vMix Call and using a call. Now, while I'm waiting for my fellow employee to join this call, I'm not sure what they're doing, I can use my call input just like I would with any other input in vMix. So if I go to add input here and I go to color, I'm just going to create a blank input. And then what I can do is go ahead and maybe on one layer add my camera. And then on another layer, I could go ahead and add my call, which is this one here, and then hold down Shift. I'm just going to resize this into the corner, put that like so. And then I could maybe add the bug as well. Now I created a 1080 bug here. So it's, oops, nope, not that one, 1080 bug. So it's automatically in that top corner like so. So now I have this layered scene here where I've got my call, I've got my bug here all on a particular input. Then I can go ahead and temporarily overlay this as well. So as you can see, it's building out a very nice production. All I need now is someone to actually answer that call if you are there. So I'm just gonna wait and wait for that call. All right, so it looks like we've now got a caller in our production, which is great. They've now appeared. So Like I was showing you before with the microphone and the camera, you'll want to go into the settings of this and you want to untick the automatically mix audio. So you manually control when their audio is on and off. And I want his audio to always be on, so I can turn it on and off down here. So even though he might not be in the production, if he says something, if you want to quickly say something.
Hi there.
Yep, so you can still hear him as a part of the production, even though he's not on the screen at the moment. So we can cross back to this one here. As you can see, this is our layered shot like we had before. We can bring him in and we can merge this out full screen. You can give us a wave if you like. Yep, and we can bring that back again. So we can use it as a part of a multi-layered production. We can use it as a single input like I showed you just then. We can also use it as a part of the virtual set system here in vMix. So I can bring them into a TV screen like this. A really popular one is this double box, for example, here, where I can click this and I can go ahead and bring in him and myself as a part of this double box effect here. So I've got my camera and I have got him as well. Whoops, I need to select box 2 for me. Like so. And so now we've got that as a part of the production, and I can drop that, change the background as well. So I can use this other image that I created down here. So I've created my own custom virtual set like so. And there we go. We're now as a part of this fully professional production. So welcome to this fully professional production. How do you feel?
Thank you, Tim. I feel wonderful.
Excellent. So with the virtual sets, there's a lot of other different features as well. So I can kind of zoom in on him like so. I can change these speeds and that sort of thing, make them look real cool. I can shift that over. So you can alter these different camera angles and that sort of things within the virtual sets as well. So the virtual sets a little bit different to layering, but you can check out our other videos about virtual sets as well. So one of the great things about vMix Call is all the audio is managed for you. So he's not going to hear himself back. So we have mix minus already set up. It's full duplex as well. We can yell at each other at the same time. So if I bring Heath back, we can talk really loudly at the same time,
really
and
loudly,
we can both hear each other. We're both very loud, doesn't cut it out.
You can hear us
So
all.
there's also no audio ducking, so it doesn't cut out some person's audio. You can shout at each other as much as you like. So while I've got you here, I am going to show everybody how you create a shortcut in vMix, and that shortcut's going to be how to mute your audio on your input so no one can hear you. So you're welcome. All right, so what you need to do is go to the settings section up the top right-hand corner, and then go down here to shortcuts. Then you can click add, and then click find. Now today I'm just going to press this space bar here, and when I press it, it picks it up. Now if I was using something like an X keys, if you have a look in the corner here, this X keys, or a Stream Deck here, or a MIDI, I would just press one of these keys and it would appear here, and then I can assign a shortcut to it. So I'm just going to click OK. And then I need to choose a function. So we have hundreds and hundreds of functions that you can select on a particular key press in vMix. There's heaps here, transitioning video, audio recording, all sorts of stuff that you want to press that you can use in vMix here. And then I'm going to select audio here and then use this audio option. I'd recommend checking out our shortcuts video on more in-depth information about shortcuts. And what I'm going to do, as you can see here, it says toggle audio on and off when I press the button. So I've got the space key, and then for the input, I'm going to select his call. And then I can choose to assign it to an input number, or I can have it on his input, which I like to keep it that way. So I'm not going to tick this. And then down the bottom here, I can save it to my preset. So as I mentioned right at the start, you can save your shortcuts to this local preset like so. So I'm going to tick that. You can name it if you want, but you don't have to. I'm going to click OK. And then I click OK down here. So you'll notice that his audio down here will turn on and off now when I press the space key. So if you want to talk, tell me something exciting about your latest Lego investment. And as you can see here, when I press this, his audio is going on and off when I press that button. So that's how you can set up a shortcut. Again, you can do hundreds of different things in vMix with the press of a key. So that's super handy. So that is how you can add a call to your production. Really straightforward. We've got a double box here. And yeah, so thank you for your time. And you can go ahead and go back to work, I guess, or something. Whatever you're doing this afternoon.
All right.
See you later.
See ya.
Now I did ask my caller to record their screen while this was going on, just to show you what it looks like. Basically, the full screen is what I'm sending back to them, which was output 1. And then in the smaller box, that's their camera. So that's their webcam, so they can kind of have an idea of what they look like. And there's a menu down the bottom where they can turn things on and off. So keep in mind that I did only send him a fairly low 720p resolution, so it's not particularly great, but I could have sent him 1080 4 megabit if I wanted to, but I wanted to show you how you kind of could serve some bandwidth if you needed to. All right, so now that we've got most of our production set up, we've created layers, we've got overlays, we've got shortcuts, we'll probably want to learn how to stream and record our production. So we're going to take a look at the recording settings now. Unfortunately, because I'm recording, I can't go into the settings, so I'm going to show you another vMix production and I'm going to talk you through it. So basically, we can go into the recording settings by clicking the little gear icon next to record. And then we can choose a file name, we can choose the type of file, the quality settings, and that sort of thing. Now, for recording settings, we usually recommend using MP4 if you don't have a really specific use in mind. Typically, for YouTube, Facebook, Vimeo, using it on a phone, using it on a laptop, on a computer, MP4 files are really good. Unless you've been specifically requested for a much higher quality or a ProRes file or something like that, then we usually recommend MP4, but you can go through the settings here to find out different options for you. Now, another really good thing about MP4 is that you can use the hardware encode on your NVIDIA GPU to perform the recording. So we'll go into this a little bit more later on, but being able to do the recording and streaming on your graphics card is really, really beneficial to your production. It's going to take a lot of stress off your CPU. So with NVIDIA GeForce cards, you can do 3 hardware encodes. So it's really good to use one of those for your recording. Now, if you do have vMix 4K on Pro, you do actually have the ability to create a second recording as well. So that's when you set that up, all you need to do is go down the bottom and click on record to start your recording. Now, another recording option in vMix in the higher versions is the multi-quarter, which allows you to ISO or individually record all of your cameras and NDI. So you can go in here and you can set that up here. So if you wanted to edit your content later on, do a completely different production, you could record each individual camera and then clip it up for that. So you go in here and you just need to turn it on when you want to use it. All right, now finally for live streaming, you'll just need to click on the streaming settings and the little gear icon down here. And then what you'll need to do is select your provider down here. Now, if your provider isn't in the list, you can just click the custom RTMP server option and then enter the RTMP or RTMPS address in the URL section and then the stream name or key. So these are really common terms, so your CDN or streaming provider should be able to provide you with these pieces of information in order to stream to. So for example, if we wanted to go to somewhere like Facebook, what I would do is select it, I would click on the Facebook settings, I can log in, I can create the stream, and then when I'm ready to go live, I can click the stream button down the bottom or in vMix down here. Now for the quality, I can use the drop-down menu here. We have some basic sort of presets that we've been recommended by these different streaming providers, or you can go ahead and just select one here. So for example, this is a 1080p 6 megabit option. If I wanted to change just to maybe 5 megabit, I could go into the streaming settings here and I could change this to 5000, and I can make any other streaming changes on this screen here and click save, and that's going to save it to 5 megabit. Now, something very important to keep in mind if someone's like, hey, we want you to go and stream this, make sure that you've got a lot of internet bandwidth and specifically upload bandwidth. So today I've selected this 5 megabit stream. I want to make sure that I have at least 10 megabits upload. We usually recommend 50% to be really, really on the safe side, especially if you're throwing in things like vMix calls. You might want to even go lower than that, but 50 to 60% is a good way to go. If you push up to 70, 80, 90%, and somebody else uses a network or there's a hiccup or there's some sort of problem, then you are going to have issues. So you want to make sure it's like 50 or 60% of your upload capabilities there. All right, so underneath that, you will see this use hardware encoder box as well. Like I said, if you're using a GeForce card, you'll be able to use 3 of these. So we've used one for the record, and I'd throw in another one here for the stream as well. So one thing that I did forget to mention up the top here, you can go to 3 different destinations. If you're going to more than that, or even if you're going to 3, it may be best to use a restreaming option like Restream, and they will take one stream from vMix and then go out to multiple different destinations. So if you're kind of struggling on bandwidth or computing power, using something like Restream might be a better way to do 3 streams, but you can use 3 in vMix if you like, and you can also save your streaming profile here as well. So once that's done, you just click save and close down the bottom, and then you can hit the stream button down the bottom here, like I mentioned before. Now, another thing to keep in mind is if you are struggling for bandwidth, maybe you're doing a 1080 production, but you might only want to stream in 720. So you could stream at a lower resolution and maybe a lower bit rate in order to kind of make sure that you're not going over your bandwidth allocation. All right, so now we're going to talk about outputs. How do you get video out of vMix onto screens, onto recorders, on the network, that kind of thing. So vMix has the ability to use your graphics card to send out your program output onto a screen. So for example, I have this here. As you can see, I am using one screen for vMix and I'm using the other screen to have my program output so I know what it looks like. So you can send out that using the GPU, or perhaps you could use it to send out a multi-view for a technical director or something like that. As you can see now, I have the multi-view being sent out of vMix. And you can use that by selecting this full screen option up here and going into the settings to set up your monitors to use the full screen. So I can turn that on and turn that off. You could also use this to pump out to a field monitor or a recorder as well, maybe like an Atomos device if you wanted to go HDMI out and record your production output. So that's an option for you. Check out our videos on outputs on our YouTube channel as well. For professional users, you could use the SDI output on certain capture cards that we support for outputting your video. So you can go multiple SDI outputs in the higher versions of vMix. So definitely check out our supported capture cards page for the compatible devices for outputting via SDI. So maybe you are watching this video because somebody said, go check out what this NDI thing is and see what vMix can do with live production with NDI. And so you've come across the right place. vMix has supported NDI from its initial release day, so from day one. So we've had years and years of experience with it. You can really easily add and output all sorts of things via NDI. You can input NDI cameras, NDI encoders, NDI screen capture, NDI productions as well back into vMix. You can output your vMix production, you can output individual cameras, calls, and audio as well. So it's really easy to add an NDI source into vMix. You just go to the Add Input menu, and then you just go to the NDI section, and then I can click on this here, which is an NDI camera that we have on the windowsill, and I'm going to click OK. And then I can use it as a part of my production as I normally would with everything else. So that's how simple it is to add an NDI source into vMix. So if you want to output your NDI from vMix, you just go down here to the external settings, click on Output/NDI, and then you can go ahead and you can set this up. You can also grab it from the settings menu up here as well. So I can choose to turn on NDI for all my outputs. This is vMix Pro, so I have 4 outputs here. I can also choose to output all of my cameras, calls, and audio inputs and audio outputs as well. So you can make a ton of sources from vMix available on the local network. Now, if you're looking to send video outside of your local network to a remote production, you can use SRT for that. So you can go into this little gear icon here and enable SRT for your outputs from vMix. So maybe you're doing a remote production, maybe you want to send it to a cloud instance, maybe AWS, and have somebody switching in the cloud. You can use SRT for that. Now, I'd recommend checking out a little bit more information about SRT or checking out our SRT video for more information. I don't quite have the time to go through all of that at the moment. So that's how you can output SRT. You can turn that on there. And then to input SRT, we just go into Add Input, and then we go to Stream/SRT, and then we can go down here to the SRT options, caller, listener, and rendezvous to add that into vMix if we want to. All right, so that is outputs from vMix. I think that's about almost everything. Again, with hardware, we recommend using NVIDIA GPUs because you can do really high quality encodes. So NVIDIA graphics cards. The laptops we recommend also use NVIDIA graphics cards as well. So you can check out our website, vmixpc.com, will redirect you there. And you can check out all the information on our website for more hardware or supported capture devices, cameras, and all that kind of thing. Now, vMix also has 8 camera instant replay, as I mentioned before. Feel free to download the trial and test out the instant replay. Some more commonly asked questions that we get is, can you control PTZ cameras? Yes, you can in vMix 4K and Pro. We can control network controllable PTZ cameras. We have on our website a list of the ones that you can control. You can create presets in vMix. You can move them around and do all sorts of crazy stuff like this one here. If I go into here, if I go to PTZ, I can go ahead and move that around and I can create presets at this thing. So that's that camera there. So that's really simple and straightforward. I can create an input at that particular one as well. All right, so what else do we have? How do I display comments from my Facebook or YouTube? You can use vMix Social for that. That's available from the hamburger menu in the bottom right-hand corner. vMix Social, you can log into your accounts and then you can automatically send content to your production. You can add a social title and it will automatically populate that title with whatever you send over. You load it up in a browser and you can push across social media content. Check out our vMix Social video for more information about how to set all of those things up. How do you add content from your desktop? Well, you can do that by going to Add Input and selecting NDI/desktop capture and then selecting local desktop capture. And you can select the displays here. So it's best to select the display here and then you can add it into your production. Now, as you can see here, I already have that set up. So I've got this here and I've closed it down. So that is currently what I'm recording as a part of my second recording. So I've added my local desktop to my production that way. Now, you can also add a local desktop via the local network. So if you have a computer plugged in to the local network, you can use NDI to share that local desktop, which is really good for things like presentations. So you can run a small program called vMix Desktop Capture for NDI, I think it's called, just on our website, or you can run other NDI screen capture software and bring that directly into your production via the NDI input section. Okay, finally, you might want to know how to add web content to your production. So you might want to add a website or maybe a video or something. You can go to Add Input and then you can go to Web Browser and then you can type in your URL up here and then click OK. So that's going to automatically add that to your production so you can start using that as a part of your live video. Now, this is a really great example for me to remind you how to use our email support. If you do have any questions about vMix, just go to the email support question here and fill out this contact form with any questions that you might have. You can go here for downloads as well if you want to check out the free trial. You can go and navigate to our YouTube channel or from our website. Again, we have our reference systems here if you want to check out all of the different computers builds that we have for vMix. So yeah, that's how you can do it. It's really simple, straightforward. You can add keyboard to it if you right click on it and select it so you can type on the screen as well. Okay, so I think that's about it. Congratulations on getting this far in this live, not live video. It's been a very long one. Any pro tips that I might have, Tim? I'm asking myself, I'm going a little bit crazy. My pro tip would be to get a control device. So like an X keys, this one here, or a Stream Deck, or a MIDI controller, and fully program out all your shortcuts. So make it really easy. So you don't have to press like a little button here in order to overlay something. You just press a button and have it all like ready to go, all labeled out, really simple. You can create your own control panel for vMix really cost effectively and really easily as well. Totally customizable. So that would be my big pro tip recommendation for everyone. Another thing is to use triggers as well. So a trigger, if you go into the settings here, a trigger allows you to perform a function when something happens in vMix. So like when the video completes, I can fade it to my camera. So that's what a trigger does. So all of your inputs can have triggers on them. So when you play an intro video, it can automatically transition at the end to something else. So if I go to the end here, it's going to automatically transition to my camera here without doing anything. So that's something that's really handy as well. So shortcuts and triggers, you can check out longer videos on those as well. So I think that's about it. We had the biscuits question before, what your favorite biscuit was. Now I'm going to ask you your favorite cake. Currently mine is a bee sting with honey and fresh cream, sponge cake, very, very good. Second, only very close, is the Lamington with fresh cream and jam as well. So yes, those are mine. If you've made it this far, feel free to leave a comment about that in the comments section. So yeah, thanks for watching, and we'll stream you later. Bye.